tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
What's going on, guys? Welcome back in to the Keeping Up with the Kardashians after show right here on AfterBuzzTV.com. We are discussing The Car Father tonight. We have a little surprise for you guys. I'm Bobby. As always, next to me is Frankie. Hey, Frank.
Hi.
And across the way, Sterling. You guys know her. And Nick Grava joins us. Nick,
what's going on?
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hey, guys.
Okay, that's really great. Let's move on to the show.
I can vouch for Nick. We do Mindy Project together.
Yeah,
so
we do.
Thank
Thank you. That's
we go
very
way back.
sweet of you. Yeah.
Oh, great. There's a love fest on that side of the table. Hey, we got a lot to talk about today. Before we get there and before we include Nick on this stuff, this is going to be a lot of fun with him. Let's remind you guys to subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on YouTube, whether you're watching or listening. Hit subscribe. You can review us on iTunes. You can make comments on YouTube. We want to hear from y'all. And we're going to do that. We get a lot of great comments from you guys, a lot of funny ones.
Great.
Well, some great comments from you guys. Frankie, are you sour about something?
No.
We get some fun comments from you guys. We love hearing from you, so keep that up. Ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into it today. I think we're going to start with Kris and her will, which is a depressing thing to talk about. But when you get divorced from somebody, you have to do things like this. So, jumping to the end first. Let's start at the end. Okay. Did she make the right decision with Khloe as the executive?
I think yes.
I don't think any of them would have been a bad choice. I don't know that it was that big of a thing. When she says Kourtney with wallpaper, it's like Kourtney makes a lot of big decisions in life. They all do.
She has more kids. Well, not besides Kris, but of the siblings. So
yeah, I don't think it was fair to compare like her choosing a wallpaper to comparing like whether or not to take your mother off life support or not. Like that doesn't really seem, like on the same level by any means.
Doesn't equate at all.
Yeah, it really doesn't. So I don't think that like says just because Kourtney can't choose a wallpaper that she's not like a good choice for to be this person. But I mean, it does seem like Kim and Kris do have that connection that we've seen in every season, that they're the closest, that Kim is really protective of Kris, so she could have been a good choice. But I really like Khloe. I think she is very protective of her family. I think she is very level-headed and is always the person that is there for everyone else. So I think she is a good choice, but I agree with Nick that any of them, I mean, I could have seen.
Absolutely. And the reasoning behind Khloe, I thought, was indicative, too, of how far she has come. We make fun of a lot of stuff on this show, but she has been through a lot of stuff. She's gone through her own collapse of a marriage, through a very traumatic thing for her. I mean, I don't know what it's like to lose somebody to an addiction like that. It's got to be very tough on her, and she's made it through that, and she's dealing with Rob in a way that the other sisters don't appear to be doing it quite the same. So she is doing stuff like that, and all three of them certainly are capable, but you can't pick a favorite, but Khloe is not a bad decision.
No, I think she's definitely the most nurturing one, too. And we saw that with her past marriages. I mean, we see them all in their sort of relationships, but she's by far... I remember in a past season, they were traveling, and she sent a box of Lamar's favorite food and candy to the hotel before they went there. What kind of girlfriend's going to do that?
I mean, Kim made Kanye a selfie book one time.
now we can buy it too, right?
So that was pretty nice of her.
No, it absolutely was. And I guess the other question I have for you guys, we never know, Nick, you'll find we obviously debate this a lot on this show, is what producers have pushed into the storyline and what actually is a storyline. We don't know if producers kind of pushed this whole Bruce feeling maybe left out thing when he was at the doctor's office with her and was criticizing Kourtney, can't make a decision, she's not here, I'm here, I should be whatever. We don't know how much the producers pushed that, but...
We definitely feel like Nick and I were watching, and we felt like it was a little weird that suddenly she would ask, the nurse or whatever would ask about that, and specifically say, and who's going to be...
Yeah, well, that was the thing. I don't even... She was talking about it, and Kris just gave the information, it seemed, like forced in a way that she could have just said, yes, you guys have it. And that's the sort of stuff that I sit back and think, okay, they need to... they need to give it to. I mean, what else would that storyline have went? Okay, he drove her to the doctor. She was fine. Great.
And there's like a storyline every episode. Obviously, they do 2 or 3 an episode, and this is one of those where you're like, you could have handle the whole thing in 3 minutes, but we got to see 7 different segments of it, such as television. But Bruce, to me, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say we also got to see Bruce shed a tear. Like, that was really touching.
Yeah, we did say all in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't usually say all with any of the moments with Bruce or Chris. I'm just like, okay, but...
Yeah, no, and I can understand. I mean, yes, they're no longer together, so I understand Chris's point on, you know, he can no longer make that executive decision, but I feel like he's going to be in their lives forever, unless Chris gets remarried, but I don't feel like that's necessarily going to happen anytime soon.
Well, I think it definitely makes sense, especially since, I mean, you know, Chris isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I don't want to get too morbid here. Like, I don't think she's going to die any second.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, however many years it is down the road, we don't know, like, what Bruce's relationship with the family will be.
Exactly.
And they're already so distant, so him taking her to the doctor was, like, this huge deal.
But remember, too, with that family, as family-oriented as they are, and say what you will about their corporate side, and Chris is a business momager, it's still a family, Bruce will always be the father to those girls. Not just obviously Kendall and Kylie, but in a way will always be a father to Kourtney, Kim, and Khloe because of the history. So he may very well still, not that he'll be the legal executor, but there is kind of a position for him there because he would have the girls' best interest at heart, I would imagine. I can't see him in a weird, you know, quasi-world, like taking all of her money and running. That's not going to...
I don't see that happening, but I do see him becoming more distant and not in touch with the reality of their day-to-day. And I wonder also, like, because of the show, is he that close to them, or is he always around, or is that just something that's written in a contract and that's why he's around?
Listen,
and that's why?
I think there's a law in the Keeping Up with the Kardashians contract, made in the legal language, that every episode Bruce has to say to somebody, "You guys never come out to Malibu." Every episode.
Yeah.
I like that Kylie came and asked her dad to take a picture of her and then ate his food.
She came to ask him for a purse.
Oh, yeah, and that too. I forgot that.
We'll get to that.
So the whole point of you going out there was to just say that you wanted a purse when she could have gotten it herself.
I thought that. I'm like, why don't you just go? Yeah. We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about Bruce's money in a little bit, but back to Bruce and Chris. Do you make anything of Chris bitching at Kim about not being able to take her to the doctor? Is that indicative of a larger selfish issue with the girls, or is this just one of those things, again, with producers trying to create a storyline? Let's call Bruce.
I think she always feels like she wants to be one of the girls. She wants to be one of them. And when they sort of show that they have their own lives going on, she always plays the victim of, you guys don't need me as much. I think that's all it was.
She can martyr herself like nobody else.
Right.
I think it was a way to get Bruce involved in this storyline. But also, I don't know, like, what were Kourtney and Khloe doing? Like, why couldn't they watch North and Kim take them? Or, like, I definitely think that it could have been arranged.
Yeah.
So maybe they were just trying to force, like, the whole Bruce thing here. But I don't think any of the daughters are the type of daughters that something really serious needs to be done with Chris at the doctor, that they're not going to be the first people there.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's just, I think, general, like, mom, parent unloading on their child. Like, I do everything for you for 30 years. Like, you can't do anything for me. It's a little melodramatic. And even she probably knows that saying it. She just wants to make a point.
To me, it didn't seem like she was actually that affected by Kim not taking her. I think she was like, oh, okay, I'll call Bruce. Like, I don't think it really...
Well, but did you see that moment where Kim suggested Bruce, and she was like, if Bruce needed me to take him to the doctor after we're divorced, pause, well, I still would.
Yeah.
Because there's still that history with him. Yeah. And there always will be. So.
Wait, I want to talk about, is it normal to get an epidural for your neck pain?
Yeah, that was so weird.
We were talking about that. We were like,
my theory is that she was going in for a little plastic surgery and they were just saying it's for chronic neck pain, but really she's probably getting something done.
I mean, I'm sure someone's going to correct us in the comments, but when people get epidurals when they're pregnant, you can't feel the lower half of your body. So if you're getting epidural in your neck, I feel like you would just be like completely paralyzed.
A little more paralyzed than like her in the car just kind of being like, oh, Bruce, I don't want to talk about this. Yeah.
She's just a little loopy. Which is an everyday situation for a Kardashian, but she's just a little loopy. I've never heard of it either, but hey, I was a little weirded out that Bruce could watch the procedure being done through that little window.
Through the window,
I would not want to watch. Even them just rubbing the stuff on, I was like, I don't want to see.
Yeah, when that iodine liquid, whatever that thing is, comes out, I'm like, I'm just gonna go read a magazine.
Yeah, nothing I need to see here.
Yeah, you just call me in 3 hours. That is a little bit bizarre. Yeah. Let's jump to Scott, because Scott's a little bit of a bigger topic. That one was a little more straightforward. Scott's business and what he is or is not doing, and a bigger issue is what Kourtney does or does not know. know. We find out what Scott does at the end of the episode.
Supposedly.
This Calabasas luxury motor cars, which is right up Scott's alley. This is the kind of stuff he'd be good at doing.
Makes sense that he would own a company like that.
Why would he not tell Courtney what he's doing? Is there any legitimate excuse for Scott's behavior about it?
I think, I do think it's a little bit of when she says, so you're a car salesman. And I think that's what we see that Scott is all about image, and he has the best watch, the best car, he wants to be the Lord Disick. He clearly cares a lot about that. So something like that, when someone can quickly just shoot him down, I think that's what he's afraid of.
Are you calling him the car lot lord?
No, maybe.
I'm on record with that. That's fine. That'll be the car lot lord. If you're not going to take ownership of it, I will.
The car father.
The car father. What the episode's
about.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. The part where the cars are being unloaded at their house, that was really sketchy.
Yeah.
Like, for him to be like, oh, I have no idea what's happening. This is
Talk
so
about forced,
weird.
though. That's something I think
that seemed
forced.
so forced. That seemed really forced. And, of course, like, Chloe's over there.
And everyone's home at this moment.
Like, that was weird. That was
let's take a mini detour in that scene before we go back to Scott and some more serious stuff. The picture that is put up at that house of all the naked women running on the beach.
Yeah, that did not seem kid-friendly.
No, not at all.
Is it? So you two are saying probably not acceptable for that environment. I didn't mind it.
For the kids,
of course you didn't.
No,
mind
not
it,
even
Bobby.
for me. I mean for kids. That is the kind of nudity that's a little more, I think, acceptable when you teach children about the human body and nudity. And it's not a body
They're
shaming
so
thing.
young that I just think it's not even about teaching them. It's more just like, what's the? It's unnecessary at some point.
It's like the women running out of the water with horse heads for real heads. Like,
weird.
You know, like, it's just not.
It's also not Courtney. And Scott didn't get the picture. Scott was surprised by it. That's not a purchase I think Courtney would make.
It was definitely very weird.
I feel like maybe it was a joke.
Yes, just
Courtney, Courtney had that little like smirk on her face during that whole scene that maybe she was planning on taking it down. She was probably just trying to get a reaction.
I bet that's the last time we see it.
Yeah.
That was a huge picture.
That's a huge picture.
That's like something you screen print on a t-shirt.
Yeah, is it?
You know what I mean? Like that's more that I would see that more than like plastering it on your
That's something
wall.
I would probably like double tap on Instagram, but I'm not about to hang on my wall. I would say that's like, I don't know. Yeah, that's about as far as I would go with that painting. What do you think? You think it was fine? You're like all about it? You're like hang it up and
it's
teach
not
the kids
It's not
movies?
going to hang in my house when I have a family probably, but I could see the case being made for it. It wasn't like it wasn't sexual at all. It wasn't sleazy at all. It was a beautiful picture. The horse head's a little weird.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful picture. Like I like the layout. And I'm like, okay, if this is one way that you want to teach your children in whatever way about body positivity and whatever, I get it. Now Frankie and I are different people. So we have different opinions. No, I get it. I didn't mind it as much.
For someone who's as indecisive as Courtney, to make a decision on that particular picture, like, just seems very.
It was weird,
strange.
I can't decide on wallpaper, but I want this photo.
But I want these naked horsewomen running around in there for sure.
All right. Well, now that we got that on the table, let's get back to Scott now. The biggest issue I see with Scott is not. I agree with you, Nick, about the whole car salesman thing and Courtney kind of poking fun at him, and everybody else might poke fun at him too, in a way, or maybe he's just oversensitive in a way. But when you have an addiction problem like he continues to have, and when you have issues with club appearances and disappearing and getting drunk and going out and doing whatever, the last thing you should be doing is holding major things like how you make money from your significant other. If you don't want to tell Chris, if you tell Courtney and say, keep it quiet, don't tell your family, I get it. But you have to tell the mother of your children who you live with.
Yeah.
You have
to. I mean, but the thing is Courtney doesn't really seem to care that much.
That's a problem.
So if she...
I think that's the bigger problem.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger issue here if you're not really concerned with how he's doing it. But maybe she did know more than she was letting on. Maybe she just didn't think it's any of Chloe's business or any of Chris's business or anyone else's. So, and when they're being filmed here, whatever she says, we're all going to know. So, I mean, maybe it's just something that he doesn't want everybody in the whole world to know.
And if that had come across that Courtney was playing it coy and she knew all along, then she'd totally be in her right. You don't have to tell other people what goes on. I get that. But it came across to me like Courtney didn't know either. And you're right, it could be incorrect. She could have known. But I wish that it would have been made more apparent that she did know if that were the case. Because she came across looking very aloof, too, on something that she really needs to know about.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I want to believe that she knows what's happening and she's just playing it, you know, like she doesn't. Because even when Chloe's asking, she's like, I don't know. It seems like he's wheeling and dealing. You know, like she doesn't.
What
seem
is
that,
he wheeling and what is he dealing?
It doesn't seem like she's that concerned because I mean. But later in the episode, she does seem concerned, but
and remember,
she doesn't push him that much.
Remember, she's confronted by Chris, and Chris tells her like it's new information about Calabasas luxury motor cars. And then she does that one-on-one interview with the camera, and she says, well, it's good to know he's doing stuff that's legit and not illegal. Which, to me, again, doubled down on the fact that she didn't know before. This is news to her.
Well, what was it in the car? And Chris was in the back seat, and she's like, is this not the weirdest car ride for everybody else? And, I mean, that is... I don't think she cares or wants to know. That's what I think the thing is she may have her assumptions, but I literally do not think she cares.
Yeah.
That, to me, is a bigger issue of her enabling his behavior. This is another way you enable that behavior. When you don't put your foot down and say, it's time to be an adult, tell me what you do. You don't need to tell me how much you make, maybe. You don't need to tell me every detail. And Scott, I respect what Scott says. I don't want to talk about the boring things about work. I don't want to come home and talk about work. Dude, I'm right there with you. But I need the basics.
If that's the truth, I don't even think
basics.
that's the truth, though. And, like, I don't know. I didn't believe that. You believed that when he was like, I just don't want to talk about work. It's like, bro, really?
I believe the Lord. So, yeah. The Lord is with me, y'all. You're right. He could be lying about that, too. But the thing to me is... You gotta get the basics down. And when Courtney doesn't get the basics down, when she doesn't call him on stuff like that, what else does she let slide? What other behaviors of his does she let slide?
Just like Chris said, what else doesn't she know?
Yeah, or what else does she enable?
And I think that kind of shows, if it's true that, you know, she didn't know, that kind of shows also the hesitation in Chris putting her in charge of making that decision.
True.
Because she's kind of just like, whatever. And you know what? She's always that way in all kinds of topics. She's either very like whatever, or she's on Scott's case.
Right.
So there's like no medium, no like quote unquote normal. It's either or.
Yeah. And she's busy with another pregnancy, which is totally obviously going to cloud her judgment and decision making, but also just her life in general. It's going to color her life in a certain way. And maybe with baby number 3 coming, this is speculation, but maybe she says, I don't want to rock the boat. Maybe I don't know what I should with Scott, but I'm not trying to have a fight right now. I got bigger problems inside.
Yeah.
You know?
And at least whatever he is doing is separate from his addiction, it seems. So that could be a good thing for her. She's like, oh, he's putting his energy in something else. Like, maybe that's good.
Right. Finally a positive hobby. Wasn't he trying to find a hobby in like a past season?
Yeah. If you've got an addiction problem, opening up nightclubs is not the thing to be doing. Opening up car lots is a little bit different.
I don't know. Some kind of mafiosa stuff might be going down.
So maybe that's why they don't want it all over the show, but they obviously...
Well, actually, that's a good question. I always have... Maybe you guys have touched upon this before. What kind of power do they have on things? Since they are producers and executive producers, what do they have? If this was really something they did not want ever to come out on the show or to talk about, could they ever say, like, this plot line I do not want shown, or
For sure.
change
Absolutely.
So anything we see has been... already passed by them and approved.
You're watching public relations right now.
Okay, that's what I figured.
I mean, and that's why things like, I think Chris's, obviously things like Chris's executive or last will thing, that's a serious topic.
Yeah.
But the way that they approached it is not like a scandal between the girls and a competition. It's vanilla stuff.
Yeah.
So this one is too, and maybe, I mean, Scott's obviously not doing anything illegal, but like in a certain sense, he's just hiding in plain sight with them. You know, and saying, oh, you don't need to worry about what I do. I make my money, you make yours. And it was kind of like, okay, we'd like to know the basics.
It's weird to get to this point and not know where he gets his money from.
I'm about to have your 3rd child. Could you at least tell me where you go to work?
Absurd. Yeah, absolutely absurd.
That's a little too far. But that also speaks on a different level, because I want to talk about it later with you guys, to the health of their relationship, which we know is not the most healthy, most normal at times. And at other times it looks great and the kids are obviously awesome. But this speaks to the health of their relationship. And you can't communicate about, I don't want to know, I don't need to know everything about your day, but like, what do you do when you can't communicate about that?
Yeah.
I mean, I get what he was saying about wanting to keep the mystery alive in the relationship, but you've got to know someone's career. Like, I feel like that's one of the top, like...
Absolutely.
To know about someone.
Yeah. And the mystery.
He's like, no, I'm just trying to keep the spark, but really, you know,
like when you meet somebody,
what are you doing every day is not a good way to keep the spark.
Yeah. When you meet somebody on Tinder and you don't know what they do like a month later, but they're cool to hang out with, that's a cool mystery. When you have their 3rd kid after years together,
I think it would be covered by now.
The mystery becomes a little different.
Yeah.
Like you gotta tweak it a little bit, but you know what? If it works for them. Who are we to judge?
And even if Chloe's suspicious, who is Scott's biggest advocator, then that's
yeah.
weird.
When Chloe money gets involved,
Yeah.
you know, is
and not only that, with Chloe's history with what happened with Lamar, and what he did kind of disappearing from sight and stuff. She probably looks at it from a different perspective.
Yeah,
Not that it's obviously the same problem.
Good point, though. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so she probably knows a red flag that Courtney would never recognize.
Yeah.
So
True that.
we'll see. All right, let's talk a little bit about Bruce and money. I feel like the show was light on content today. Is it just me?
Yeah.
You know what? It felt like fully packed with it, but then when you break down the storylines, it feels
It's
a little
just
light.
not a lot of stuff.
Why does Bruce have a garden pick with a
Money
money
sign.
I
What
think
is
it's
that?
That was the weirdest thing to me.
Very
I was like,
odd.
what?
I thought it was an S, and the pick went all the way through to keep the S up.
But why would he have
But
an
what
S?
S?
Maybe
Even
he's-
so, no, that was a money. I'm
That was
calling
a
that
money
a money
sign.
sign.
he's got a new girlfriend.
Even if it's
her name is Susan. I don't know.
That was weird to me. I was like,
I'm on your boat.
like
I was like, did Kim put
that's
that
what
there?
yeah, I was like, did the producer put that there before this scene? It doesn't seem
Such
like
a
a very
weird
Bruce
prop,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. That's
Well,
just
what
a
about
small
Bruce?
note. Speaking of being light on content,
Seriously.
like about a garden.
I wish I knew better. Maybe you guys do about Bruce's debt problems they alluded to before
Oh
he
Yeah.
met Chris.
yeah. No, I don't know.
I
I
think-
would definitely like.
I think it was just the only thing I know is that it was hinted or said that basically he didn't know how to even run his checkbook, and when Chris stepped in, she took over everything. And they've said that in past seasons before. I never knew to what extent. I still don't really know for him particularly like where his money comes from exactly.
Speaking, tons of speaking tours.
Does he still do them?
Yeah.
He's still.
Yeah, he does.
I've
Well,
never
they've shown
heard
him on
of
other
it.
episodes, Olympian stuff. Now, I don't know how long that continues. Obviously,
Right.
there's a
Yeah.
generational issue here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I imagine he still gets a lot of money on speaking tours and maybe endorsement deals even today. Maybe there's some sort of Olympian thing. The dude won a lot of gold medals.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I
I feel
wonder
like
how
part
much.
of- most of it probably is from just being on the show.
I was also going to say
And
that.
that's
What
it.
is his piece
Yeah.
of that?
Oh yeah.
And he is cutting his own show. We can debate what that show's about, and we do.
Cooking.
But he is cutting his own new show.
travel
So
show.
there's
Wasn't it just put on hold? Are you talking about
It's
this?
put on hold,
It's put on
yeah.
hold right now. Have you guys already discussed
We've
what you
discussed
think it's
it,
going
but
to
since
be?
you are a new host on this
Why don't
panel,
we-
why
yeah.
don't we hear your 2 cents on what you think?
I'm on
let's
it.
be
Yeah.
more blunt than that.
Go ahead.
Is Bruce transitioning? In your opinion, we don't all know. What do you think?
It's so tough because if I was going off of just media and just everything else, if I had not known this guy, I would say yes. But because I've seen him on past, just seen him and who he is, and this may be a generalization or a stereotype, I do not think he is. That's all I can say. Although when a quote
I
just
I
came
like
out,
this guy.
That's what makes it so strange, though, because you wouldn't think he would do it. That's what makes it weird.
that's what makes everyone want to talk about
Yeah.
it, I think, too. I don't know. I just think he's the type of person that, if this is something he wanted to do, why did he wait till now? Why is he...
There's so many questions.
Yeah.
The most. I'm glad we're talking about it because we want your opinion on this because it's going to be a big story in a couple months.
Yeah.
But the weirdest thing about it is not the transition. If that's it and that's what he wants to do, you're not going to affect our life. Like, go
Right.
for it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But it's the media frenzy with it. He's not a media guy. Why would he do a TV show? Why would he do a Diane
Right.
Sawyer interview? That's not him.
But this
That's
is
the
my...
weird part.
Do you guys have the same issue of I don't know what to believe in the
Yeah,
media? When I see him with nail polish, I don't know that that's true. I don't know
Yeah.
that wasn't
Could
just
be
brushed
edited.
on there or edited on there. So that's why I really... Even with the show, has it been confirmed by a network
No.
executive? So even that, and now it's on hold suddenly, seems... A lot of it just seems shady to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Stir and I were like, unless it's come from straight from the horse's mouth,
Then I don't wanna-
it's
I
just-
refuse to
yeah.
comment any further until
Yeah.
I know it's confirmed.
Oh,
I would
excuse us.
You know what?
I'm
I'm going
sorry.
to side with
Excuse
that too. I'm going
I'm
to plead the
just
fact
sorry.
until I see some factual information.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, we talked like for almost 30 minutes about it last week or whatever week that was.
Couple weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, and so I feel like, we've said that, but honestly, we can talk and talk and talk about it, but at the end of the day, we just don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
No, we don't know, but it's just an interesting thing. And,
Just
and
needed to know Nick's stance.
That's
Yeah,
my
we do
stance.
need to
I'm
know.
We
glad
like
covered
your
that.
We
stance.
like
All right.
it.
We
Bobby
like
might
it.
not, but we do. Got
So-
the majority vote.
So back to that's good to know. Now that you're on the record with that. Now back to Bruce today with money. I don't see anything wrong in a singular instance of him buying Kylie a $5,000 purse because he can finally spend. I get it, but obviously long term, that's probably not sustainable.
I think this storyline was a storyline that was blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
And it was used for the show. Let's get real. This guy has more money. Even if he spends $35,000 and a $5,000 purse and a painting, which are the only three things that we saw
saw
him
him
buy,
buy.
Kim does not need to go over and start talking to him about financials. He knows if it gets to zero, he doesn't have more money. He's
Especially
an old
Kim,
guy.
who's building a home she's not even moved into yet. So
Yeah.
Kim is not the one to talk about dropping money.
What is Kim about to say when she? I would love to hear Kim's financial speech of what
Yeah,
she
she like
said.
has a pen and paper, like, but what is she writing down?
It's
That's
like
what I
taking
wanna
so
know.
much. Yeah.
It's like he's got a money sign gardening.
Do you
stick.
save? Is what she said. I'm like, wow, question none of us had thought of.
Do you think
Do you save? Check. No.
Maybe.
Yeah.
this just made me? You guys made me think of this with Kim because Kim took the financial lead with Bruce now, whereas Chris had done it for 25 years. Kim took it, or at least for the show, took it today. As close as Chris and Kim are, and as high profile as Kim is, kind of the quote-unquote favorite daughter they always joke about, would Kim ever try to take over Chris's position? I don't mean, usurp her, like, stage of mutiny. I just mean as Chris gets older and slows down, will Kim not only be in the public eye as a beautiful person, whatever, will she also be a business person? Is that how she sees herself?
I think she is a business person, yes, but I don't.
Not
think,
under Chris. I mean, she takes over her own empire, becomes the new Chris.
I don't think so. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't know. I mean, I definitely think she's like the face of the whole Kardashians thing. So I think it's only natural for her to be protective over that name. And now Bruce is under that, so she doesn't want Bruce Jenner, the stepfather of Kim Kardashian, is bankrupt and going off the rails and blah blah.
Yeah.
So I think it's her way of like protecting not only him because she loves him, but also her own name and the whole family's name. And we saw that a lot last week with the video game stuff. So I think it's really just her being protective. And I think her and Chris are really similar. So she does kind of jump into gear when she sees something about to happen.
Say what you want about Chris, though. She's a sharp tack. Like,
Yeah.
she's smart. She's a good
Absolutely.
business person. I don't want to insult Kim, but I don't think she's quite as sharp.
I don't think she has that much of it. I think if Bruce started to go into financial trouble, I think what we saw from Kim is about all she has to offer and all she would offer. I think it's
a blank piece of paper.
A blank piece of paper
And
and a
noodles.
one-time scene for the show. Other than that, she'd probably say someone else go handle it, go see a financial
I think
person.
Kim is very smart when it comes to herself. I feel like she's kind of centered on her business deals, just completely about her, which makes sense. But
Just a little bit.
Can we talk about for 1 second when
no.
she was in Khloe's kitchen and she was talking about how Kanye went off on the
trainer.
trainer about
Oh
the
my-
weight?
yeah.
It's just like every week there's something that
Kanye.
that just like bugs me about Kanye being so controlling over her image.
I don't-
and her blonde
If
hair.
she-
I feel like it was him.
if
and
she
all
wants
this
to
stuff.
lose weight between her toes, you will make that happen. And if you don't, we will go get a
Beeping
new
happen.
trainer.
It's like kind of scary to me. Like I love the Kim Kanye like thing, but she is just like I feel like so controlled by him, and it's crazy to me.
That's one of those.
As a bug.
Saw a bug.
just flew me.
That's one of those things we've talked about it before, but obviously this family is very wealthy. And obviously, say what you will about how they've earned it. They have earned it. You can spend money. You can live the way you want. I don't begrudge your wealth. I would love to have it myself.
Right.
But stories like this, and this is a Kanye story, not a Kim story, but even how Kim approached it, and Kim and Khloe laughed about it, that puts you on a different level of not wealth, but elitism, and that is not a good look.
Not even that. The fact that, yes, the way she was framing it was that, look how funny this is, look how great this is. It confirmed. That's a way that I would confirm. Before, I never really liked Kanye personally. I'm not a big Kanye fan. And then I hear that story and I say, okay, that confirms it. It's not just what I see in the media.
Yeah.
Kim is actually saying that. And it's just, it's degrading to a person. And you wonder what plane their mind is on that they think that's fine and normal.
Especially when she was laughing about it, like that just really raised some red flags for me. Like
Me too.
That she's being controlled by this person, no
Right.
matter like how big it is, like whether it's her hair color or how much weight she's losing, whatever. But that she's laughing about that being in that situation as well is very concerning to me because she is, arguably one of the most beautiful women, especially in the media. And for, us as women to see her now, we've looked up to her just as from a fashion standpoint in general, but even before Kanye, but now to see her being kind of manipulated and controlled by this guy is like, I'm like, come on, girl, like, I know she wants to lose the weight for herself, but then why is he there with her trainer and her? Like, why can't she go by herself? Like, I just,
What
I
is he,
just
just
don't get
sitting
all
there?
that.
What?
Yeah, like, does he go to the gym with her to make sure she does the right amount of crunches? Like,
And
the
obviously,
Kanye workout plan.
yeah, the
there.
Kanye workout plan. It really just
Obviously,
bugged me a
Kanye and Kim are not going to 24-hour fitness and getting a $60 an hour trainer. This is a celebrity trainer who's making a lot of money in their own right, but it's a quote-unquote normal person relative to Kanye and Kim are. And when you start making that delineation between you're normal, we're not normal, we're going to yell at you, we're going to treat you like less.
Yeah.
Kanye, you want to go in the press and say ridiculous stuff about yourself? We'll laugh about it. Say all that you want. That's awesome and weird and stupid, but we love it.
Delusional.
Totally delusional. You want to go and go to another human who you now see as kind of beneath you in a way because you're yelling at them on first time meeting them. Not cool.
Yeah,
you can't do it.
I just
experience.
And that person was probably being nice and like, Kim, you don't need to lose 15 pounds.
And she probably doesn't need to lose 15
No,
pounds.
she probably doesn't. And if I were that trainer, I would have been like,
yeah. Well, and I'm also not like I don't dislike Kanye. I don't have this whole Kanye and Kim make sense to me. Like
yes,
right now,
I
even
will
despite
agree with
rumors that he's gay and blah blah. We'll talk about later.
Really?
Yeah.
I never.
Yeah. Anyways, but it makes sense to me just as from like a business standpoint, and they do seem to care about each other. But for the way he treats her. And I mean, he might treat her like a queen, and she loves that. But the comments and everything, like that one scene in Chloe's kitchen, really alerted me.
Yeah,
I was like,
I'm happy you brought that up because I forgot about it.
Yeah,
how much
that's not normal.
No, it's not cool. And these girls, in a lot of other ways, are as normal as they can be considering their lifestyle. They really look kind of down to earth. We saw last week or whatever, Chloe with the woman in the giraffe suit who came up and was crying. She had the giraffe costume on and she was just crying meeting Chloe. Chloe was real normal. They're down to earth, very approachable and stuff. And I know that that's one isolated anecdotal incident, but still. And then Chloe turns around and laughs about this trainer with Kim, and it's like, well, wait
shocking
a second.
that went. I'm really surprised that made it to air. That moment, that scene. It just shocks me because I think, like you said, they're down to earth from what we see. It's easy to be down to earth for 20 minutes in a day while you're eating lunch and then go back to your whatever self that you are.
Well, I think they included that scene because on the whole car ride, they were getting all those Instagram comments about, oh, of course she would post this. She's a Kardashian, blah, blah, blah. And I was bashing. And so then the next scene, it's like, oh, but I'm really down to earth. So I think that's why they.
Oh, you're talking about two different things.
Oh, I thought you were talking about why they included the giraffe.
No. I'm talking about why they would include her saying it about Kanye and then her laughing about it.
Yeah. We're going back to that. Never mind.
I agree with you.
I
was like, I may have missed that.
Yeah, I agree with you about the
you
giraffe.
blinked.
Just kidding.
But I don't know why they would have included
keeping me on your toes.
I don't know why they would have included the Kanye scene today, if only because Kanye says so many ridiculous things. Maybe they thought, let's get a cheap Kanye laugh. People are here to hear about him, and he won't be on the show, so let's try to give as much as we can. But this one was a weird step in the wrong direction.
What happened? Was it just that scene? I'm trying to remember. Did someone come in the kitchen and it started something else, or was it literally...
They started talking about that picture.
And then,
that Bruce bought Chloe.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Can we talk about when Bruce says, I'd like to see more of North? And she says,
why? Really? Really,
I was
why?
just
Talk about
about
out of
to say
touch
that.
people. I'm sorry. What?
What do you think? He's like, so we could have a bond?
Yeah, that was a little...
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that.
Okay, you guys all know that I'm pro Kim all the time. But this episode particular, telling her mom, no, North has to sleep and blah, blah. I feel like, I was going to say we've all been there. I don't think any of us are parents. But I know sometimes, you have to help someone out and sorry, North, you're going to have to come in the car. If you're crying in the car, you're crying in the car, but I need to do this. You know what I mean? And so for her to be like, no. And then later with Bruce to say, why do you need to see... I was kind of like, Kim, come on. Family is very important. And we talked about that in last episode. She was very pro-family. And then this episode, she was kind of...
That's another point of when they're out of touch. You're right. Wake the baby. If my mother didn't, she would have said he's going to get up and whatever he's going to deal with. You know what I mean? That's that.
But they have so many people that work for them. Why can't they have someone watch?
Yeah, they don't work at 5 a.m. Doubtful.
Yeah.
Someone will be
Listen, a doctor's office drop-off is just like an airport pickup. That is a binding social contract. If somebody asks that, who's that close to you? Not a stranger. Who's that close to you?
True.
I think there's an expectation that if you can swing it, those are things you do for them because one day you're going to need it from them. You need it in return.
Yeah.
So that's not a good look, especially, Kim, when you live at mom's house. Okay? You're living under mom's roof.
Yeah.
You got to pick up your laundry, do some chores. I know she's not doing any of that. But you have
and no's.
you have to do a few things for mom around the house, and one of them is take her to her doctor's appointment.
Yeah. That was really sweet when Bruce brought her coffee dough.
Oh, yeah. She goes, I can't drink it.
But I did like that she was appreciative of it.
No,
she was like, that was really sweet, though.
They were very civil and very loving still.
Yeah. Well,
I hope they
still...
keep up that banter.
I think they definitely will.
Same.
They're still going to be best friends in one way or another. I mean, other people will come into the picture, but they were together for, 2.5 decades. You can't just turn it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And going back to the whole Kim, North, and Bruce thing, if Kim thinks is entitled enough to handle all of his finances, I think that he's entitled enough to like have a play date with her daughter. You know what I mean? It's like I can control all of your money, but I don't think it's the best idea that you
Wouldn't you think she would want that? She would even for North, it's something for her. Not even that she's doing Bruce a favor. It's like you would want
just
that.
to play devil's advocate in this. Maybe Kanye doesn't.
I was just going to ask that.
Wouldn't
for
surprise
you guys.
me.
Well, yeah, that's
because
if he doesn't want something, it doesn't happen. Apparently,
exactly. And does Kanye is this Kim saying this, or is this Kanye saying, I don't want your family involved. This is about us. Similar to what Scott was talking about today in a different way. I don't want your family involved. This is about us and our child.
But he's still living in Kris Jenner's house.
That's my thing. Is I think it's
True that.
I think listen, they're an overbearing parent. There's a lot to
and
handle.
you knew what you were signing up for when you got here.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't. You didn't date this girl and meet her, and you're like, oh, she's perfect. Oh my God, she's got 700 sisters. It wasn't like my. This was not my. This was not my big fat Greek wedding.
Not a
You know what I mean?
shocker. Yeah.
You knew this was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True that.
Okay, good story.
And that's part of the reason that he always says he loves Kim anyway, is because she has her own thing. And that is her thing. It's her family and the money they make. So.
Yeah.
That's true. All right, guys, you want to do some news and gossip?
Sure, let's do it.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Sterling, do you have something for us today?
You can go ahead and start.
Okay. I've got a good quote for you guys. This isn't news as much as just a funny quote, and I want to read it to you. Paris Fashion Week happened, last week or 2 weeks ago? Kim and Kanye hired their own paparazzi to take pictures. Not a surprise. I think they do this a lot.
Yeah.
The quote is this. A source talked to PerezHilton.com and claimed that Kanye will act like a magazine editor looking over thousands of pics every day and will pick the ones that he knows will get the biggest reaction. Here is the source's quote. Quote, the photog takes thousands of shots a day and Kanye pores over all of them. He'll point to a picture of himself standing on a desk and be like, this will go down in history.
I don't find this surprising at all.
I don't even.
Because
Oh,
because on their Instagrams, if you notice, most of their Instagram posts are paparazzi pictures.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you have this like all of these pictures already when they just took them like 2 seconds ago? You know what I mean? It's like, something suspicious is going here. Like you have a camera following you and
knowing the
connected
rules,
to your phone.
knowing the rules to
Wi-Fi.
intellectual property and copyright and photo rights and stuff, I think it would be hilarious if one of them put a paparazzi picture on their Instagram and TMZ or whomever owned the picture sued them and was like, that's our picture, of you.
Yeah.
That's our picture. You
Yeah.
have to give us back or, take it down or whatever. It wouldn't be certainly a whole lawsuit, but I think that'd be a funny thing to do because they definitely just do very poured over Instagram pictures. This isn't, even the one that Bruce took of Kylie, he took a bunch of shots. She was like, I'm going to look dark. It's a dark thing or whatever. These aren't just snapshots of like you and your butts.
Listen, I understand a good Instagram theme. If that, I appreciate it.
I don't at all.
Well, then you're out of touch. But I'll tell you,
I am out of touch.
No, but then it becomes a line when that, and you know what? Usually I would say that's BS. I don't believe it. Perez Hilton, who knows? I don't know. That sounds like something Kanye would do. Is go through 1,000 photos.
If they are completely probably paparazzis like most photograph people. So if you're might be hiring them, you might as well use it to your advantage.
True.
And I mean, what's going to be better, him sitting on a table or him sitting?
Do any of
I find
you?
it interesting though, since he's trying to like have this whole fight with the paparazzi about photographing the children of famous people or whatever, and then to go and hire paparazzi to take pictures.
Or maybe
of
that's his
He's
way of controlling it then.
Yeah,
and he gives them
exactly.
certain limitations. He says, "I'll tell you guys where I am, so you guys get the photos, but you guys
but you can't. Don't follow me.
Yeah, work under my rules."
And I think that's probably how a lot of them do it. If you have a good relationship with them, I feel like they'll say, okay, we got what we need, see you later.
Yeah.
If you don't, that becomes a story in and of itself.
Yeah.
And you have whoever the singer was in the 90s who hit a cameraman in the airport. It's a really famous video. Bjork.
Yeah, I probably. But I was going to say, as long as Kanye is not punching anyone.
Look it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
You're out of touch if you're not on YouTube.
Thank you. I am on YouTube.
Okay, I got another one for you guys. This is like ridiculous. It was on HollywoodLife.com, which is dubious. But let's talk about it. Scott and Kourtney breaking up and heading for a custody battle is what this article is about.
Yeah,
I want to read some things to you guys. First off, they say the source tells Life and Style magazine, quote, Scott will fight for joint custody of the kids, which basically means he wants to continue to get paid. Scott is no dummy. He knows that if Halle Berry's ex, Gabriel Aubrey, who never married Halle, can get paid more than $15,000 a month for one child, imagine what Scott could get. He will hire the top lawyers in LA to take as much of Kourtney's wealth as he possibly can. Losing partial custody of children is terrifying for Kourtney, but if she also has to continue paying for Scott and his antics too, it would be the end of her world.
I don't think that's true.
First, no. I don't even think he knows who Halle Berry's ex is. I don't think that's true. Second of all, even if this happened, it wouldn't be the end of her world. She has so much money. It'd be a little parking ticket to keep paying. How many millions that she's making a year, what she had to, and I don't believe the story in general, but that would be my
Did
overall.
you guys talk about last week about him heading back to rehab, or was that something that happened this week? I can't remember.
We talked about it a little bit. Actually, there is a quote on the rehab thing. We should mention it because I want you to talk about rehab a little bit more. HollywoodLife.com said about Scott, source said, quote, Scott was paid to go to rehab. He won't be there for 30 days, and no legit rehab facility would ever send out a press release. So,
today Kylie posted some pictures, and so did Kourtney and Scott. They were all having like a Sunday pool day thing at Kourtney's house, and Scott was there. So he's obviously not physically in rehab. He could be doing something, but you know, we've talked a lot about him going to rehab, and if he still is having problems, I say good for him. So.
For going.
And if he's going, if he is going, but if he's not,
good for him for having problems.
good for him for going and trying to fix it. But if he isn't, then I mean, I feel like those constant breakup rumors, rehab rumors, whatever it is, are constantly swirling with them, and we just
it's low hanging fruit from a rumor standpoint, and we can talk about Kourtney's role, and we have debated Kourtney's role. Has she hung on too long? Was it wise to do this? How many chances do you give a guy?
Right.
But Scott's role, this is something either way, however he does it, he's going to have to deal with it the rest of his life. This doesn't just, you don't correct it with medicine and then say, hey, I'm good. He's going to have to deal with it on some level. So this will never be, in a way, fixed for him.
Yeah.
But from Kourtney's perspective, there will be a breaking point one way or another. We'll see if she ever hits it. But
yeah, I don't know.
Every kid that pops out makes it just more complicated and deeper and more whatever. This isn't Bruce and Chris separating after deciding together and being mutual. This would, we don't want to assume anything, but this would be very different from that. All right, Sterling, what you got?
I was just commenting on your news and gossip.
No, I thought you said you had something else.
Oh no, I'm good.
Well,
Kim Kardashian is not blonde anymore. That's just
that's very important news.
That's just for Fashion Week
news.
And there was something. She was headed to Armenia, and so she wanted to be back to her natural color for that trip. So.
Did she get hate for the other? I don't know. How did it go over with the public? Did people like it? Were they not liking it when she went blonde? What did
it was
people
like,
say?
I think some people loved it. But like a lot of people that I know that do hair in LA said they had so many people coming to them wanting to do the platinum.
That makes me so scared for all of society.
but not only did they want to come in and be platinum, but they wanted to do it in one sitting, which is not normal for someone with jet black thick hair. Yeah.
You know what we've learned today? Not everybody can be Sterling Cates. It's tough being blonde.
You
it's
stop
tough being
It
blonde.
doesn't happen in one sitting. It just happened naturally.
Thank Mom for that one. All right, let's move. Go for it.
It's completely from sources that I would never actually consider and believe. Yes, but I still
let's talk about
Let's hear it.
I still might as well bring it up. There was a couple random websites saying that Kanye and Kim are no longer going to be allowed to award shows. And I was like trying to Google to see if this was legit, but it didn't seem like it was legit. Yeah. But I did hear that rumor, so that's a little gossip.
If I had an award show, I would make it a law that they have to attend.
I was just going to say, it's ratings,
It's
Exactly.
ratings. And it's for E to get that last part of it with Khloe and Kim right next to them when he did that whole back thing like that. I was like, God, E, you are just killing the game right now.
I would say, like, I would sit Kanye in the front of my award show for any award. Like, the sewing awards of Upper Wisconsin. It doesn't matter. I would sit him in the front.
Just think of that.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter.
Very creative.
But I would sit in the front, and then I would just kind of like lean in and whisper to him, like, hey, whenever you want to go up on stage, you go up on stage.
You're pre-mic'd. Just talk in your seat, man. Just talk in your seat.
Just start talking at any point.
It's like pop-up video or something where they have the little info during the video. Kanye would be like pop-up Kanye thoughts during the award. Somebody'd speak and Kanye is like, this sucks, next.
Yeah.
Hey, I respect your sewing, but the better person who did
While I do think having them at award shows is great for ratings and stuff like that. I do think he does need some sort of reprimand and some sort of boundaries that he cannot cross, because he's done that twice. Someone's winning an award
for the person actually winning.
I'm waiting for him to do it to the wrong person. I'm waiting for him to do it to somebody that isn't going to take it and isn't going to be like, oh, haha, Kanye.
Can you imagine if he actually did it to Beyonce? The Hive would be like,
or listen, look at his career elsewhere. If he makes a bad decision or slips up a little bit, drops a mediocre album, let him do that again.
Already been there, done that.
I agree with you, but let him do. But I mean,
you guys are hate me for
like a popular thing where people are like, Kanye's a little over the hill, and then watch him pull an antic and see how people react.
He would never do it to Beyonce because he's the one being defended. He's defending her in both situations.
That's the only person I could think of who has well, besides like Rihanna's Navy or whatever. Let's like Beyonce and her Beehive are like the thing. However, music I do love all day. I really like that song.
Okay.
Yeah.
Real quick, we got a couple minutes left. Predictions, tough to do on this show, but we do them anyways.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Anybody got anything good? I know, obviously, Sterling, Instagram, you know everything they did 10 seconds ago.
Yeah.
But who's got something fun?
On an Easter egg hunt today.
A little bit early.
I was just gonna say, it seems early. It seems aggressive.
I can't believe, just really fast, I can't believe Easter is next weekend anyways. I can't believe April is in 2 days.
I know, right?
It's just nuts.
Do your taxes.
Oh, shit.
I just I just did some stuff.
We have Rob.
Let's actually. Do we have a second to talk about?
Yeah,
go for it. I want to hear first.
Second.
I really want to hear what you guys where you stand, what you think.
Oh God, that is too long. We don't have that much time.
We'll talk about it next week apparently, because it seems.
When Chris says if we don't do them, he's going to die. She said that today. That took me. I didn't know things were that serious, but I heard if she's not embellishing the truth or whatever.
I agree with that statement 100%. She doesn't mean next week. I don't think we don't know that there's like a drug addiction, but it's a spiral that will lead to that. So she's not exaggerating, at all.
Yeah, she didn't say like will literally die. That means it's not. It's like more serious when she doesn't use literally.
But no, next week with Rob, I don't believe we're obviously going to see him on the show. We'll only hear him on the phone or whatever. But next week with Rob is going to be a very interesting week.
Yeah, and so Rob is always a huge topic that we talk about a lot, and so we haven't seen it this season yet. So I'm excited for that for sure.
Faux show.
All right, guys. Hey, in the meantime, before next week with Rob, if you want to, again, let me remind you, hit subscribe on iTunes and YouTube, whether you're listening or watching. And there's this thing called Twitter. Don't know if y'all have heard of it.
What's that?
It's you like message people and stuff. All four of us are on it. So if you want to tweet us, Sterling, where would they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Sterling Cates.
Oh.
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Nicholas Grava.
And for me, Twitter, Instagram, XOXOCESCA.
And I'm on Twitter at Bobby DeMuro, Instagram at Mr. Bobby DeMuro. All right, hey, that's it this week. To you guys on the Kardashians. We'll be back next Sunday to talk Rob and whatever the hell else happens on E. Until then, see you guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.